Internet! Hello, you lovelies, and welcome to This Week in Comics. This Week in Comics, we have the huge news and confirmation that Aaron Pierre is officially John Stewart Green Lantern in the DCEU. James Gunn has confirmed this news. We're going to be diving into that show, talking all about this casting. Also, it is, as of right now, Absolute Batman season. The first issue of Absolute Batman has dropped. This is DC's answer to Marvel's Ultimate Universe. I have read this issue in advance. I'm going to talk all about that first Absolute Batman and what that universe is going to be. Also, we've got a little bit of Joker production news, some crazy rumors, some things to discuss there. We've also got some rumors about Doctor Strange 3 being directed by Sam Raimi, and Venom promotional tour has kicked off in a really weird, big way. Going to talk about Busta Rhymes, going to talk about UFC, going to talk all about Venom. I am so excited for This Week in Comics. If you're new to this page, I read about 50 to 70 comics a week, and then I break down the 9 issues I think you would like most. I try to make them not only the best issues, but also the most approachable issues of that week. This gives me context to all the news I break down, but also I want to get you in a comic store. So if I can give you an easier in, that's what I'm trying to do. I also preview all of the comics coming out that week. So I review the week before, I preview the comics coming up, and I give you all the news. That's what this show is all about. This is This Week in Comics.
Let's do the list. Spider-Man.
Guilty.
The Incredible Hulk.
Afraid so.
Oh man, this is so cool. The X-Men.
Now that you mention it.
All right, let's kick it off with that Aaron Pierre news. He is officially our John Stewart Green Lantern. Now, if you don't know who John Stewart is, he is a very fast fan favorite character in the DC Comics universe. He is a Green Lantern that is very military, very driven, very focused, very precise, and it's really fun because that plays off of the idea of willpower in the greater Green Lantern universe. Kyle Rayner is my personal favorite Green Lantern who's very creatively focused. He's very driven by art. And then Hal Jordan, the Green Lantern that everyone thinks of, is this force of sheer willpower. He is this fun, brazen, cocky pilot. So each of the main Green Lanterns have kind of their own thing, and we've not seen John Stewart in live action to scale. We haven't had a movie or show, especially something theatrical, bring us John Stewart, and he's been a fan favorite on the Justice League cartoon, in video games, in comics especially. This character has been needed to be brought to brightest light, and it's happening. Aaron Pierre is the talk of the town for the last few months with Rebel Ridge. I have not seen it yet. With this casting news, I will be watching it by week's end. I've been very busy, but now I'm going to make time. Rebel Ridge, everyone was talking about this guy, this Aaron Pierre guy, and it ironically was being discussed in Blade conversations because Mahershala Ali has been attached to Blade for 5 years or so, and then this guy comes on the scene and looks like the Daywalker, but he has now been brought over to DC playing a huge legacy character. In my opinion, Miles Morales, Kyle Rayner, Con-El, Superboy, there's very few legacy comic book characters that reach the level of success as their predecessor. Like, I would say Spider-Man for an entire generation is Miles Morales, and that's so beautiful. John Stewart for an entire generation is Green Lantern, which is so wonderful. Superboy never quite made it that big, but I've always loved that character. I'm really excited to see a whole new generation discover what Green Lantern is after the events of the Ryan Reynolds movie that even he makes fun of every chance he gets. I feel like the main population doesn't realize how exciting it is to have like this crazy cosmic space cop story, and this movie in particular is supposed to be like a true detective tone. Now, the Kyle Chandler as Hal Jordan casting is confirmed by a number of reputable trades, but it hasn't been confirmed by James Gunn, who immediately confirmed this Aaron Pierre rumor. So with that, I think it's 99% sure that it's Kyle Chandler, but I'm hoping we get like a big dynamic duo, pun kind of intended, with the other awesome DC project we talked about last week. Check that out, the Robbins movie. But with this dynamic duo, I'm really excited to see confirmation that it's both of them. I'm really excited to see their dynamic together. It seems that up until like this morning or late last night, Stephen James was still in the running. It seems like the two of them, even by James Gunn's post, were neck and neck and auditioning their butts off over and over again for days to land this role. So it's a very important role to the DCU. It's a huge show. The show is going to be run by the showrunner of Ozark. Damon Lindelof's writing on it. Tom King, one of my favorite comic book writers, is writing on it. This show is gigantic. If you guys want me to make just a breakout what we know about Green Lantern so far show, like if you want me to do a special news thing about just Green Lantern, let me know. There's plenty to discuss. We also got confirmation just earlier this week that James Hawes, who directs Slow Horses, a bunch of iconic episodes of Black Mirror, is in the running, or softly confirmed, I need to hear it from, you know, the right source, but is going to be directing the first 2 episodes of Lanterns. So we're going to get a very intense tone. I mean, both of those shows are very intense, both very gritty. We've got this cast forming. We've got this incredible behind-the-scenes team. I am so excited for Lantern, and if, like I said, if you want me to make a separate video, I especially want to watch Rebel Ridge and then dive into a what we know about Lanterns video, but I know the DCEU has an incredible cast, and this is just another fantastic addition. I know that Green Lantern is a character I adore. I think Jon Stewart is going to be so great for an entire new audience to discover. I'm very excited for this, and I'm stoked for this dude, because it seems like, and again, this is someone I want to discuss in that video, Rebel Ridge was a movie that was in production for 5 years. And then it kept getting delayed because of the pandemic. It kept getting delayed because of like things happening with production. And then last minute, the original lead of the film, John Boyega, had to drop out for family reasons, like a little bit into production. And then this guy jumped in like while they were in production on this movie. And now he's Jon Stewart. Like, to go from relatively unknown actor to this giant breakout role in Rebel Ridge to Green Lantern all in the span of a few months is absolutely incredible. So congratulations to this dude. I'm so excited for Aaron Pierre, for him as an actor, but also for him to be Jon Stewart, because I hear he's fantastic. I will be watching Rebel Ridge and reporting back. But yeah, if you guys have anything to say about this casting, let me know in the comments below. Let me know about Rebel Ridge. Let me know if you're excited for Jon Stewart, and if you're excited for Aaron Pierre as Jon Stewart, how excited for you for that Lantern show. For me, it's like the Superman movie, the Supergirl movie, Lanterns are like 3 of the most anticipated things I have in pop culture in the next 5 years, and they only sound better the more I hear about them. So let me know in the comments below what you think of this casting. Let's stick with DC for a second, and then we're going to talk about some Marvel rumors, but sticking with DC, we are going to talk about the comics themselves, which is what I want this show to thrive upon. There are not a lot of comic book-centric shows on the internet, and the ones there are do not tend to do as well as movie and TV news, but the comics are how we get here. So with a giant event happening in comics, I really was important to make the co-headline a comic book bit of news. Absolute Batman is on shelves right now. Now, new #1s happen all the time. It's a way to get people to read comics. It's a way to find things that are approachable. It's a way to get on like new jumping on points. This is different. This is a brand new universe within the DC Comics world. This is a brand new take on the character that requires no other reading whatsoever. You could never have read a Batman comic. You could never have read a comic in general, and this will make sense. This is a brand new take, much like in the year 2000, Ultimate Spider-Man reinvented Marvel. Ultimate Spider-Man was a new jumping on point for Spider-Man, for any comic fan, but for Spider-Man, it retold his origin in a modern way. Instead of a radioactive spider, it was a genetically modified spider. Instead of the 60 years of continuity to that point, Spider-Man was a 16, 15-year-old kid again, and we retold a lot of the classic stories of Spider-Man, which then became Ultimate X-Men, which became Ultimate, which is Avengers, which then, in my opinion, led pretty directly to the MCU. So Ultimate Spider-Man was so essential in 2000. Another conversation to have is that Ultimate Spider-Man now is one of the best books on the shelves, and he's an adult versus being a kid, and reinventing him for this generation. It's an interesting psychological commentary on where we are, that he's an adult versus a child. But Batman hasn't had a brand new start since like New 52. And even that kind of tied in loosely-ish. It's a bit of a mess. All these crises in New 52 and all those stuff at DC, it always had like a tenuous Earth 1 or 2, like all these things. This, nothing required to know anything about anything except for knowing who Batman is broadly. This reinvents Batman. It's a new origin. I've read it, so mildest of not even spoilers, but if you don't want to know anything like breakdown wise, if you don't want to know how this reinvention happens, skip ahead 2 minutes. We're going to talk about Joker, Venom, Doctor Strange. But in brief, they don't use the money aspect for Batman in the same way here. They don't use Alfred in the same way here. They don't use Joker in the same way here. They don't do any of the things you'd expect. They don't use Black Mask in the same way here. What they do is have the origin be akin to the one that he experienced, and then reinvent that for the modern day, much like Ultimate. And I really dig where the origin happens. I really dig why the Bats in a new way. I really dig what they're doing with Black Mask. I really dig the fighting and the violence and the intensity of this Batman. I dig some of the mythology they're using with Sky Rises. I love the Bruce Wayne stuff. The Bruce Wayne stuff about the way he is using Gotham and the way he comes up and the way he learns and the way he builds and the way his love for Gotham is shaped through jobs, and the origin of his training is really cool. I don't want to give it away, but I really love that. I don't love the take on, and it's, again, this is the mildest of spoilers, but I don't love the take on the Joker. I'm worried. That's the only thing that really worries me is some of the elements of the villains to come, I worry won't land because we are so attached to these villains, which I know is extremely ironic considering that I liked the end of the Joker movie. But in a comic, I don't know how that end of this comic is going to work. So that's my only concern. I gave it an A-. I really like this jumping on point. I really like the visuals. It's very different. I didn't like it at first. I like it in motion. I didn't like it in stills. And to me, a comic is in motion when you're flipping the pages. When you're directing the panels, the space between the panels makes the comic move for me. And I liked this character in motion more than just the covers. So this really worked for me. If you've never read Batman, this is a really strong first issue, a really good jumping on point. And again, you never have had to read a comic in your life, and this one will make sense to you. And it's really cool that Batman's selling out. My local comic shop got 125, I think, issues gone. It's right now, it's like 10 a.m. On the day it dropped, and the pre-sales sold out at my local shop. That makes me so happy. So check out Absolute Batman. It is absolutely a good time, and it is an absolutely great way to get into comic books, and that's what I want this show to be. I talk about the news because it'll get the clicks, and then I hope you guys stay for the comics. I know a lot of you do. Let me know in the comments below if you're going to be checking out Absolute Batman. Let me know in the comments below what you thought of the issue if you've read it, and be careful reading spoilers, those of you that haven't yet. I don't know how the comments are going to go. And let me know if you're excited for Absolute Superman, Absolute Wonder Woman, and everything else they're bringing out of there. And congrats to Scott Snyder, the writer of this, and Nick Dragato for this doing so insanely well. I'm so stoked for you guys. All right, from Batman right over to Joker. Not going to spend a lot of time on this. I think a lot of people... I'm a little tired of Joker discourse. I'm frankly exhausted, but I did find a couple bits of the news that came out during the week interesting. So just in brief, the things I found most interesting that we've discovered this week. Christopher Nolan originally nixed the idea of Joker having his face, cutting his own face in front of the crowd in the first movie because he wanted Heath's to be sacrosanct. He wanted it to be his. And I even in my review where I said, I like the ending, I don't like that part of the ending. I don't think it's Heath's origin because Two-Face exists. I've already talked about this. Like, if Two-Face is in the movie, you can't reintroduce a not Two-Faced Aaron Eckhart Harvey Dent. But I digress. The idea of that is, to me, it's kind of sacred in its own way. So to me, that ending of the first film would have downplayed the first film a bit for me. But it is an interesting thing to add that symbology to that first Joker film. And apparently Chris Nolan, when he was at WB, wouldn't let that happen, and I respect that. Standing up for Heath, standing up for his film. Obviously, Chris Nolan left WB when they unceremoniously released his film on streaming during the pandemic and is now at Universal making all the money with Oppenheimer. But WB, I think the relationship is getting fixed up. They're re-releasing Interstellar together. I would love to see, what Nolan would do at WB again. I love that relationship seems to be getting solved, and a lot of the bad blood of the pandemic is it's interesting to see studios and directors and relationships and stuff. But yeah, that ending of the original first film with Arthur Fleck cutting his face open in front of people, very interesting to me. Also found out that this was once conceived as a musical on Broadway, and that reads so true and authentic to the way the movie feels, and I think I would love to see the Joker on Broadway. I think a lot of this plays out like a play. Courtroom stuff, a lot of the big musical numbers, a lot of that would be really cool on stage. That's something that's been tossed around. There's been a rumor that this came to Joaquin in a dream, but there's also a clip that says that's not what they based this off, so I think that rumor is maybe unfounded. A lot of stuff about Todd Phillips defending the fact that no one likes Arthur Fleck, they just like Joker, is kind of the plot of the film and kind of the plot of the reaction. But as I said, I have talked enough about Joker. I'm tired of it. I like the ending. You can see my review of a film that I thought was a 6 out of 10 that people think I love, but I really love the ending because I think bold swings like this are important. So that video you can find on this page. It's a few videos ago, but those production elements I thought were very, very, at least interesting to me. I'm making sure on my notes here that's all the things. I talked about Absolute Batman, talked a little bit about the Joker. talked about the absolute awesomeness that is Aaron Pierre's Green Lantern. Let's wrap up DC with this really funny quote from the one and only Rick Flag Jr. When asked if he was going to be in Peacemaker Season 2, Joel Kinneman, actor that played Rick Flag Jr. in The Suicide Squad, said, quote, "That's ridiculous. I would never be on a show like that. It's not what I do." That, end quote, is maybe my favorite actor "I'm not in that, I'm totally in that thing" reaction ever. You know, Andrew Garfield did his werewolf thing. Other actors have been like, "What are you talking about?" I love that he comes out of the offensive. "That's not what I do. I am a thespian." I love that. He's in it. Like, that almost guarantees he's in it, which I think is delightful. I'm super excited for Peacemaker Season 2. The casting of Frank Grillo as his dad is so perfect, and then putting him in Creature Commandos, Superman, and now Peacemaker Season 2 is going to button up that universe so beautifully to make it one shared thing, and I think that is going to help to have Rick Flag Jr. and his dad have some scenes, probably in flashbacks because he's dead, in Peacemaker, and yeah, this is exciting. I'm really excited for this universe to kick off. So, Joel Kinneman, you sassy so-and-so, that is a lovely way to say, like, I'm not in it, I'm totally in it. Before we get out of here, before we get to the comics themselves, let's talk very briefly about the glory that is the Venom promo tour. Venom is out in 2 weeks. Venom is out on October 25th, which is coming up jarringly fast. I'm going to be in New York and checking it out, so you can count on a review from me, an out-of-the-theater review on the 21st. I believe that's a Monday. You can count on a full non-spoiler review, I think that Wednesday beforehand. I'm going to try to get it up Wednesday, and then full spoiler Friday, and then probably Easter eggs and fun stuff that weekend. So you're going to get a lot of Venom coverage from me, so hit that subscription bell if you haven't already. I really want to grow this page and keep talking about comics and movies and TV with you lovely, so subscribe if you haven't already. But Venom hasn't had as much press other than the trailers as a lot of other movies, but this week it really kicked into gear. Busta Rhymes and Venom rapping makes me so happy. This was one of the first things I saw. Tom Hardy's actually a really good rapper, so Tom Hardy rapping as Venom to Busta Rhymes, who he's legit a fan of, like Tom Hardy's actually a Busta Rhymes fan. This is glorious, and this is the kind of crossover I love to see. All to say Unleash the Beast via Monster, like, that is so preposterous and such good cohesion of absurd that I'm all about this. Busta Rhymes, Monster, Tom Hardy, check out this trailer. Another one I loved is we also got Tom Hardy's Venom fighting Dana White, or attempting to get Dana White to give him money, and verbally going back and forth, and then putting Sugar Boy there, Sean O'Malley, in a headlock. That is, again, my worlds. I love UFC. I forget Sean O'Malley's actual name, Sugar Sean. Him putting him in a headlock. Tom Hardy in real life is a very accomplished martial artist who has literally won, like, he's submitted under his legal name or his dad's name, I forget which, and won tournaments. So this is, like, just so perfect to see him in the UFC. Again, he's a fan of UFC. He's a fan of Busta Rhymes. I love how much he's getting to play in this press tour. Seeing Dana White in a clip for Venom is just insane. My UFC-loving brain and my Venom-loving brain and my love of Tom Hardy, all of it colliding. Very excited for this kind of press tour. Also, we got a Hot Ones moment that I'm sure the internet will handle just fine with the horniness they have for Venom, chugging white liquid milk in this case, but it'll get used other ways. I'm very excited to see my three loves, UFC, Busta Rhymes, rap in general, and Hot Ones, all get the Venom treatment. I cannot wait for this movie. It's been a fun press melee the last couple weeks. I think it was like 2 weeks ago the UFC thing happened, but it's been a fun melee the last couple weeks. Excited to see what else comes out. Also got a new poster that looks so awesome. I'm personally very excited for this movie. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. If you're excited for Venom: The Last Dance, do you think that Venom is going to have his own last dance and then be in Spider-Man 4? Do we think Null brings himself over from the Venom 3 trilogy into Spider-Man? I think that might be another video. If you guys want to see it, let me know in the comments below. And lastly, in the world of rumors, rumor has it that the great Sam Raimi will be directing Doctor Strange 3. As you all know, I wasn't the biggest fan of Multiverse of Madness. I love Sam Raimi the man. I love Sam Raimi the comic book fan. Maybe another chance. The first one made almost $1 billion. It's not like they lost money on it. I am personally glad the Russos are back for the Avengers. That was a rumor for a while that Sam would be making the Avengers films. This, I think, would be more his wheelhouse, and hopefully he gets more control because it's one character. I'd love to see Sam Raimi blending the actual comic lore that he does so well with his horror stuff, as opposed to the What If episode that Multiverse felt like. But I'd love to give him another chance. I really like Sam Raimi, the dude, the director, the comic fan. Spider-Man is like iconic for a reason. Do you want to see him on Doctor Strange 3? Let me know in the comments below. Do you think this rumor is real? And if it is, are you excited? That is going to do it. We talked lots of stuff. Let's talk about the comics themselves. Let's get out of the news. These were my favorite comics for the week of October 2nd, and there were some amazing ones. So once again, these are my favorite comics from last week, the week of the 2nd, and I try to make them the more approachable books, and the first one absolutely is. This is Batman 153. This might seem like a huge number, 153, but it's kind of a number one. It is a brand new arc from Chip Zdarsky. It is a brand new arc from Jorge Jimenez. The artist Jorge Jimenez has been with Chip Zdarsky on his run so far, but this is a brand new spot where you don't have to have read the first two arcs of their team up with Batman. This is about Gotham itself. This is about basically money fixing some problems in Gotham and how that won't fix things later. It is an interesting take on Riddler. It is a new exploration of the Batman myth. It is a good, effective number one. It's post failsafe. It's after all the all-in stuff. It's after the Absolute Power giant crossover. This is a good number one, and it's a really solid issue. Highly recommend Batman 153. Speaking of DC All In, DC All In Special number 1. If you're curious about what's happening with All In, if you're curious about what this big giant event over at DC is going to be, it is separate, but tying into Absolute. The Absolute Batman, I believe, will come from the events of DC All In, but it might not. It's a big multiversal story, and if it sounds complicated, it is, but I think All In explains it pretty well where we're going to be going. So if you want to see what the big fall event / reshaping of DCEU is, start here with DC All In, especially if you haven't been reading the big Absolute Power event over at DC. DC All In explains where things are going in a really fun way. Leaving all of that complication behind, we've got Deviants number 8. This is from James Tynion IV. This is one of the most depraved, hard to read, violent, true crime-esque books I've ever read. If you like true crime, if you like, you know, the psychology of murder, if you like Mindhunter, that kind of story, this is your jam. This is a Christmas-based one. It also deals with people being closeted and not being able to connect with others because they feel like they'll be judged, and the killer, a killer, connecting with another gay man over that othering, and all of that tying into a certain psychology, and then the blame of that and how that person might not have done things wrong. And it's a really fun mystery, really dark and depraved and violent, but if you like true crime, this is going to be your jam. Only 8 issues in. I think it's going to conclude at 9 or 10, Deviant number 8. My biggest surprise of the year in comics, I'm not even kidding. I knew I'd like Ultimate Spider-Man. I knew I'd be excited for Saga coming back. Multiverses Collision Course. I did not expect to love this as much. I hosted the Multiverses panel at San Diego Comic-Con with like Matt Lillard and Tara and everybody. Like we had a blast. I love Multiverses. I didn't think the comic would blow me away. It is WB using all of their power for good. It is Looney Tunes crossing over with DC. It is Batman having to deal with Bugs Bunny. It is them writing both impossibly well. The comic characters you know and love, the Looney Tunes you know and love, and then at the end of this issue, more WB stuff seems to be colliding. It is so well written, it is so funny, it is so inventive, it's good for all ages if you have kids that want to read comics. If you want Bugs Bunny and the goddamn Batman teaming up in an all ages funny way, this book is so surprisingly great. Multiverses Collision Course, so impressed. Sticking with more DC, we got Plastic Man No More number 2. Liked the first issue, I believe it made the top 9, didn't love it. This one is more my jam. It is dealing with Plastic Man seeing himself as a joke because everyone else sees himself as a joke. Plastic Man dying and trying to save himself, and also trying to be seen as a hero and being listened to because everybody's like, oh, it's just jokes. He's dying and nobody's listening. It's an interesting take on comedic relief in the DC universe or in any comic universe. It's a great take on Plastic Man, a character I love. Definitely check out Plastic Man No More if you like the character. And I love this character and I love this book. Poison Ivy number 26. This book from Woodrow Wilson. Not Woodrow Wilson. I did that again. That's a president. G. Willow Wilson is one of my favorite retellings of a villain in a heroic or anti-hero way in a long time. This is such a great run on Poison Ivy. This is a really cool new jumping on point. It tells basically the eco-terrorist concept of Poison Ivy and reframing that with actual eco-terrorism. her group of friends being an absolute grounding thing for her to believe in humanity again. It's a really cool psychological study of Poison Ivy and violence in nature and all those things. Check out Poison Ivy, and this issue 26 could effectively be a #1 for you. Speaking of #1, Storm #1. I'm always worried with a new Storm book or a new book like leading with Storm because she is such a great character that I feel like does not get the juice she deserves. She's an Avenger, she's an X-Man, she's a goddess, she's all of these things. This book knows that. This book opens with that. This book knows exactly who Aurora Monroe is. And Aurora Monroe is all these things. And this book's about balancing that. This book's about picking which that she is in different scenarios. This book's about the impact she has in the world. I love this issue 1 so much, and I love this character. It's great to see her finally get a book worthy of her. Storm #1. Ultraman and the Avengers #2. I was pretty chill on the first one. It was like a B-. It was fine. Love this issue. It ties in all of the crazy lore of Ultraman, which I only have a casual knowledge of, to all of the crazy lore of Avengers, which I have a deep knowledge of. It is a wonderful way to see Tony Stark interacting with technology. It's a fun way to see the teams collide. It's a fun way to see Avenger nominations. It's a fun way to see why they have to team up against a villain. It's great to see other characters interact with Galactus. This book's just a blast. If you like Ultraman at all, and if you like the Avengers at all, definitely check this. Like, what a strange collab that really works. And finally, X-Men #5. I love a good team book that feels like a team book. I love a team book that feels like it knows who its leaders are and tactical plans. I love when Cyclops gets to be himself, and that is a good leader with some processing. Like, I love that you can feel the wheels turning in this book with Cyclops. I really love the art. Ryan Stegman's a genius. I really think this book is classic X-Men. The covers on this and Uncanny have felt like those, like, oh man, X-Men covers always used to like really catch you. I really like the dynamic. I really like the world that hates and fears them elements. This is such classic X-Men. And these are my favorite 9 in total for last week. These are the books I'd recommend you pick up. If I missed anything, let me know in the comments below. If you've read any of these, let me know in the comments below. Let's talk about the comics. Let's have a conversation like in the back of a comic store. These are my favorites from last week. Let's talk about the books available this week. October 9th. Yeah, October 9th, 2024. These are the books I'm going to be checking out. All right, this week is a bit of a smaller week, and remember, each of my polls is by the amount of books I'm pulling from each publisher, and I think because the last week of September and the first week of October were pretty big, second week's a little on the smaller side. From Marvel, going to be checking out The Amazing Spider-Man #59, continuing that brawl with Tombstone. We've got Blade, Red Band #1, great jumping on point, and an R-rated Blade like he should be. We've got Conquest 2099 #1, Exceptional X-Men #2, that's a Kitty Pryde book. We've got Fantastic Four #26, that is a brutal intense cover, especially for a book that's so family friendly and fun. Very curious. I love that FF run. It's my favorite of all time. Marvel Zombies Dawn of Decay #2, Phoenix #4, Sentinels #1. Very curious about that. A new beginning from the Ashes book and from the perspective of Sentinels, it seems. We've got Spider-Man Black Suit and Blood #3. That's an anthology book, each detailing a different arc that you could just jump in there, but all in the black suit. We've got Star Wars Ahsoka #4, Star Wars Ewoks #1, if you're a fan of those little fuzzy bears. And then there's your jumping on point. Ultimates #5, that's going to be a big book, I think. We just had that giant issue #4 with all that Doom goodness. We've got Venom #38. We've got Venom War Wolverine #2. Loved the first Venom War Wolverine. Really good one-off Wolverine story. Well, this is the second part, so I guess it's not a one-off. We've got X-Force #4. Then over from Image, we've got Geiger #7. The last issue was very dog-centric and him meeting friends at the zoo. I love Geiger. I love his whole family. I love the knight he travels with. I love this book. It's very classic comic books. Also from Image, I'm going to be checking out Chip Zdarsky's Public Domain #9. This is a family drama about making comics. It's about rights issues. It's about movies versus comics. It's about adaptation, and it's somehow riveting. Like, it could be so boring and bad. It could be too meta. Chip Zdarsky walks a very beautiful fine line. I love this book. Public Domain is exceptional. Also going to be checking out Scarlet #5 and Transformers #13. I think that's a big Transformers issue from what I'm hearing, so I'm going to try it out. I haven't read Transformers 1 through 12. I'm going to read #13 and see how I like it. From DC, big old book of the week, we've got Absolute Batman #1. Look at that cover. Look at that beast. I've read it. I enjoyed it. Talked about it at the top of this episode. It is probably sold out at your local comic shop, but call them. Maybe they'll hold you one / might get a second printing. I'm very excited about this book doing so well. Action Comics 1070, very iconic classic cover there. Batman and Robin number 14. Batman Gotham by Gaslight, the Kryptonian Age number 5. We've got DC versus Vampires World War V number 3. Green Lantern Civil Corps Special number 1. We've got a Mad Magazine 40 and a Sandman Complete Shakespeare Collection number 1 as well. Only 8 books from DC this week. It's crazy. Small week. From Dark Horse, I am very excited for all their Star Wars stuff. From Boom Studios, I'll be checking out Crocodile Black number 5 and Minor Arcana number 2. And then there is nothing personally for me from IDW or from Dynamite this week, except from Dynamite. I'm sorry, I almost forgot Declan. Declan from Declan Shalvey. We've got Terminator number 1. It didn't load fast enough. So it's from Dynamite Entertainment, checking out Terminator number 1. Like I said, a bit of a smaller week there. It was a huge week the last 2 weeks. Those are the books I'm going to be checking out. Let me know in the comments below which ones you're going to be reading. And next week, I'll be back to review my favorite 9 of those. And the circle continues. This episode is supposed to be live with the news breaking. I wanted to get it out a little sooner, and scheduling stuff meant I wasn't going to be able to go live until like 4 or 5 tonight, so I wanted to get this video up. So I'm going to be editing for 4 or 5 hours instead and trying to get this up ASAP. Hopefully only 2 hours of editing if I can do it quickly. Either way, I wanted to get the news about Aaron Pierre up to you lovelies, give my take. Please spread the word about this show. If any of your friends like comics, I'm really trying to make comic-centric shows. Comic stuff does not do as well on the YouTubes. It's a smaller fandom than movies and TV at large. So really trying to grow this and make the comics themselves matter. I don't know how it's going to go that I did a comic book as the co-headline story. We're going to find out together. Homework this week. If you've ever been to New York Comic Con, what is your favorite part of New York Comic Con? And if you haven't, do you want to go? Let's have a conversation about New York Comic Con because your boy's going to be there. I got 2 panels on Friday. Definitely going Friday. Might go Saturday as well. But curious about your New York Comic Con experiences if you've gone, if you want to. And other homework, let's talk about the Aaron Pierre Green Lantern casting. Who else at DC do you want to see cast? Let's do some fan casting. So Comic-Con stuff, fan casting for DC. Let's have a chat below and let's talk about that Aaron Pierre casting. So I'm very excited. Much love to all of you. I love doing this show for you guys. Soon it'll be live. I don't know if it'll be next week because it's right up to New York Comic Con and then at New York Comic Con. I don't know what's going to happen. So maybe next week live, but stay tuned either way. Trying to bring this to you guys as soon as possible with as much comics as possible. Much love. I'll see you then. Bye.